U.S. trade talks with China seeing some positive momentum as we wrap up the week. U.S. officials are reportedly preparing a final trade deal that President Trump and his Chinese counterpart Xi Jinping could sign in the upcoming weeks. A summit is tentatively scheduled for mid-March, according to sources familiar with the matter. Still, though, debate continues in Washington over whether to push Beijing for more concessions. Guys, today is March 1st, a.k.a. the deadline that was originally set, and we have not reached a deal yet. But what are your thoughts in terms of how we've seen progress going along?
I think the progress it just seems to us so minuscule because we're hearing that there is progress, but I don't know what portions of the deal have actually been finalized. There's very little about the currency, about the enforcement parts of all of the negotiations. So we'll just wait and see.
And so far, I mean, the markets have been reacting to those updates along the way, but we've seen, I guess, from both sides, to be fair, progress in terms of optimism about what we might be able to get along this, I guess it's been, what now, months drawn on battle back and forth.
Well, this is Trump's strategy. He does bluster, 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 and then he expects that will empower him to stick the landing, but he needs to stick the landing. And as the deadline gets closer and closer as we cross it, we'll see if he does his usual Trump pattern of usually delaying, and blustering some more. Yeah,
or I mean, at this point, like we saw with North Korea, potentially walking out on a deal that could be done as well. But as we noted, today, March 1st, was not a magic deadline, as he said before. He has given himself the freedom to move past it, and so we do. But Yahoo Finance's Jessica Smith joins us from Washington, D.C. for more on this. Jessica, what are your expectations when it comes to U.S. China trade talks now that we've officially hit what was supposed to be the deadline for a deal?
Right. You mentioned those reports saying that the U.S. is finalizing a trade deal with China that the president could sign in the next few weeks. There has been quite a bit of optimism around that. We've heard Treasury Secretary Steve Mnuchin say the two sides are working on a 150-page document that it's very detailed and that deals with those tricky structural issues. Larry Kudlow has also said there has been fantastic progress made. But you'll remember the president did just say that he could walk away from a deal with China if it's not the right deal. We also heard Bob Lighthizer on the Hill talking about these negotiations, and he said, yes, progress has been made. He actually revealed quite a few details about the enforcement mechanism, but he said if. He said if a lot, if we make a deal. And he said there still needs to be progress made. And if there is a signing, he says the work is going to continue after that deal is done.
Let's not forget, too, when we talk about this deadline, maybe I should note that the deadline was all about tariff hikes and what we would have seen in terms of hikes to billions of dollars worth of Chinese goods. But you exclusively spoke with Iowa Senator Chuck Grassley about his thoughts on steel and aluminum tariffs, which he says have been hurting his farmers back home. What does he want to see happen on that front?
Right. Well, we talked about the other big trade deal in the works, and that's the new NAFTA USMCA. And he says he wants that to pass. But in order for that to happen, he says the president needs to lift those tariffs on steel and aluminum. He says that's the first thing that needs to happen before Congress can take action on this. Here's his message to the president.
So whether it's Mexico or Canada or the United States, all three countries are saying to the president of the United States, you got to get rid of these tariffs. And I'm of that same opinion. I haven't talked directly to the president yet, but I would tell him like I'm telling you. And I would say it from a standpoint of intellectual honesty. You said to these countries, these tariffs are going to be on until you negotiate. The negotiation's over. You ought to do your end of the bargain, pull back the tariffs.
So not only are these tariffs, according to Grassley, hurting his farmers, but he says that's not going to help Mexico and Canada approve this trade deal if those tariffs are still in place. He told me he has been talking to Bob Lighthizer about his concerns, about his thoughts on USMCA. He'll also be talking to Democratic lawmakers. He said he'll have to address their concerns about enforcement, environmental protections, and labor standards.
All right. Jessica Smith from Washington, D.C., breaking it down. Thanks so much.